can do what I want,
Okay.
the way they look. I think what I have, excuse me, is good enough because I have a few different kind of, like 3 different lines in my family right now that are kind of different areas of it that have been kind of kept relatively close and, also crossed, but then, you know, certain areas have been kept kind of,
Some families.
yeah, there's like subfamilies. But I'm not going to be afraid to cross in the right bird. A few years back down at Dave Gerke's, he had a black badge cock that he flew in competition, and I I thought it should be awarded a MFRG diploma, and the rest of the MFRG members there thought so too. So it got a MFRG diploma, and the bird was outstanding. And that wasn't the first time and the only time I saw that bird fly in competition. And Dave is breeding out of that bird. He's been breeding out of it for quite a few years, and he's been some of his better birds he's been raising has been coming out of that bird. And a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, I think it was, he offered to raise me a youngster or two out of it, and it's like, why not? I really like the bird, so. But he only bred 13 youngsters last year, so I wasn't able to get any last year, but he plans on breeding some for me this year if he hasn't, last year the dust just got to him too much, so hopefully with the way he's been this year with moving his breeders all back into his old loft where there's more ventilation, he'll breed a bigger number of birds, and hopefully I'll get a couple of youngsters out of that bird. And my plan is to fly them, and if I like what they do in the air, or at least one of them, I'll try one of the two if it's, worth breeding out of, if I think it is. Open up your lofts, don't be afraid to share the hobby with anybody. One of the things I take a lot of pride in is that I feel I was probably the first in our club and in the state to really open my loft up to our Asian roller hobbyists. And I've never regretted it. They are some very good pigeon hobbyists. They definitely have the eye for birds. They're very good trainers. They're very good friends and people, and they're keeping this hobby alive. A few weeks ago, I was down at the show down in New Ulm, Minnesota, and I was talking with Gary Thompson, who was a member of our club for a few years and then kind of dropped out and rejoined. We were talking, and he was asking about the club, and I was mentioning that about a third of the members now are Asian. And he goes, John, he said, if it wasn't for the Asians in the club now, we'd be mostly just a bunch of gray-haired guys in a dying hobby. But because we have such good hobbyists now that are Asian, and there's so many of them that enjoy the hobby and stuff, that we know that our hobby's going to continue on.
Oh, I hope so.
And I think they're all such a great asset.
Okay.
You stay back. No. No.
And I kept one, and the one I kept got lost. Look forward to breeding out of her again this year. She's a good roller, and she's got good stability. She's a full sister of that red grizzly you're always asking about that's up there that you say rolls so tight.
Mm-hmm.
She's not as frequent, but she's a good bird.
I see something.
And she's really tame. You talk to her and she just one of those 30 birds.